Is beginning. Recording in progress. Hi. Welcome to Be Well with Bridget and Erin. I am Erin, and this is my friend Bridget. And we've been talking about the circle of life and the 12 different components of health, essentially the components of your life that encompass what it means to be well. The first week we talked about health and we defined what health is. The second week we talked about, oh my word, I'm forgetting already.
I didn't bring it. Oh, we talked about finances one week. Yep, physical activity.
So we defined health, we talked about physical activity, we talked about finances. Last week we talked about meal planning, and today we're talking about joy.
Right.
Meal planning and home cooking, you're right. The benefits of keeping it at home. And today we're going to dive into joy. Like, I feel like the whole world could use a lot more joy in their lives.
Oh, for sure.
That's just me. But Bridget, would you kind of take us away here? Why would joy be on that circle of life as a component of our health and well-being?
So this topic was actually one of the bigger topics and probably ongoing topics, throughout my schooling last year. Because really without joy, without finding your joy, without finding, the inner part of you to help get through life, then you're really not going to progress in any way.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say anyway. It's not like the end all be all of everything, but without it, you have, you might have your lack of motivation, your lack to want to change, a lack of, self-love or loving others, or finding just contentment in anything. So, and it's an ongoing thing, like all the time. Like we do need joy to move on with our lives in every way.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think to your statement about it being ongoing, but also there's times in our life where we find joy in something, but it's very either unstable isn't the word that I'm looking for, but it's very not like long lasting. It like lasts for a little bit and then like it kind of goes away. And so what do we do with those things where, okay, we found joy in this at one time, but no longer, it no longer serves like that joyful emotion that I received. So what do we do in that instance when it comes to this? I used to have joy coming to the gym and now it just feels like a task. What do we do in that instance? Like, did we rely too much on the gym being our source of joy?
Right.
And so the definition of joy, which you just read to me a little bit ago, what was the definition of it?
Okay, so we have two definitions, and I'd like to just share both. But the dictionary definition is a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. So, which is true. I think that's what most of us. That's your everyday joy, and I think we're all searching for that at some point in time during the day. Whether we're at work and we're having a hard day, or we're having a hard day with our family, or we're having a hard day, just being ourselves in general. We're always kind of looking for the happiness, and if you can't find it, then you kind of find yourself missing in certain areas.
Right.
And then I really liked the biblical definition of joy. Just reading it straight from my phone. It's a lasting emotion that comes from the choice to trust that God will fulfill his promises. Biblical joy is more than a happy feeling. It's a lasting emotion that comes from the choice to trust that God will fulfill his promises.
Yeah.
And I think I had said to you, well, before we got on this call, but even during our last call, that that's the joy that can't be taken away from you, and that and you made a very good point when I said that to you, which was,
We have a tendency to give it away though. Like
Mhm.
we oftentimes when our joy isn't rooted in the source of joy, which God's word says, the joy of the Lord is my strength. So the joy of him being in my life is what gives me strength to kind of walk through my daily life. It doesn't feel like a task. It's like it's a joy that I have him as my source. But when I look to other things as my source of joy, I become unreliable on the true source of joy. And so in essence, I'm giving my joy to something that's not as sustainable.
And I think
So
that's when we become frustrated,
yeah,
with what's going on. We have a tendency to fixate on what's not going well. We have like, why isn't this getting better? Why isn't this happening? What am I doing wrong? And that's when we need to, reel it back in, like
yeah,
just reset ourselves as to what should the focus be, and
yes,
what do I need to let go so I can feel that joy
that's
again,
right.
because obviously I'm harboring something else, and
Yeah, yeah. What's getting in the way? Like
right,
why, what's the root cause that I'm not happy or I'm not joyful like I used to be? And sometimes it can be, I think sometimes it's food related. When we don't feel well, our body doesn't respond to happy things in the way that it's supposed to. And so, it goes back to our identity of who we are, like who is our source of joy. For me, I know for certain my identity is in Christ because in his word it says I'm made in his image. And I know that the joy of the Lord is my strength. And so just going back to that, knowing what I'm rooted in, but also what choices am I making in my life that are sustaining that joy, or what am I doing, what things in my life are stealing that joy? And sometimes it can be toxic relationships. It can be the food that I'm choosing to put in my body that causes chaos and like a foggy brain, which leads to poor choices and crankiness and my blood sugar levels, so my mood. So it can come from food intake that I'm choosing to feed my body with. It can come with how maybe I'm not managing my stress well. I come to the gym thinking that maybe that will help me manage my stress, when in fact it puts more stress on my body. So it's not really the release that I'm looking for. You know, it could be any of those things. So if we go through our whole day and we are entertaining toxic relationships, we're not rooted in our identity of who we're created in. We're eating junky foods. We're not getting adequate sleep. We're testing our fitness every day, or maybe we're not moving at all. It's
right,
gonna be hard to get through life being like, oh, this is such a great day. Like that doesn't sound joyful to me at all. Yet as a society, I feel like this is pretty much America, right? I
right.
mean, you
Yeah,
agree
well,
with
yeah, constantly. Yeah, I do, because honestly, I've done it just all morning at work. Like, it'll get better. It'll get better. You're just trying to convince yourself,
that?
um, as to how you want yourself to feel, but you're just not feeling that. And I think that's when it's important to step away,
Yeah. Yes.
reevaluate.
Yes.
Maybe you need to pray. Maybe you need to walk and pray. Maybe you need to just sit with a friend,
Yeah.
and talk about it, or
Yep.
anything to help you dial it back in. There are so many different important aspects of life that can help us
Yeah.
rekindle our joy,
Yes.
is what I'm thinking.
Yep. Yeah. So when we think of joy, I think too, like what happens when we experience joy internally in our body, there are three main hormones that are released when we experience joy. So, if you think of like a happy moment in your life, or maybe just recently or whatever, what happens when we experience joy, endorphins are released. And those are essentially are like your happy hormones. Those are the ones that are like, man, yeah, that felt so great to laugh and have fun and be with my friends. I want to do it again. Like it's that endorphin release hormonally that we get when we experience joy. The other one is that dopamine is the other hormone that's released. And this is like the feel good hormone, right? This is, which there's cheap dopamine through social media, through pornography, through, like these, I mean, we could really go on a reel with these, but that's cheap dopamine. And cheap dopamine even happens in the gym too. It's like a cheap dopamine fix where we go in, we think we're like, yeah, doing all the things. It's a cheap fix. And then we leave and then we're miserable 5 minutes later. Same thing with social media, with likes and swipes and comments. We're satisfying an immediate need, but it doesn't sustain anything.
Yeah.
So then we have to go back for more and more and more, and which is how addiction happens. Addiction to sugar, addiction to social media, addiction to pornography, addiction to anything that actually isn't going to last for a long time, alcohol, whatever. So dopamine is released, but when it's from a joy standpoint, obviously that's the kind of dopamine that we want that's being released, is the dopamine, where we have true happiness because we feel satisfied, resulting in feeling happy and excited and all those good things. And then, so the third one is oxytocin, which is like, it's another feel-good hormone, but it's released to relationships. So it's like a bonding hormone. So you and I have a very close relationship. And I know that when you and I get to spend quality time together, like there's just something in my spirit that feels really happy, really joyful, really satisfied. It's not stressful. And it's because that release of oxytocin that brings us closer to one another. And so finding people, that's why relationships are number one joy stealer, because we don't bond well with one another, let alone, like, I even feel bad talking about this on a Zoom call with you, with what I'm about to say. Like, we're not actually with people as much as we used to be, We do everything on FaceTime or like a text message, or, we're having a Zoom meeting right now. Yes, I would much rather be sitting down having coffee with you in real life, but obviously our schedules don't allow for that. So anyway, but that true bonding relationship with human beings, whether it's your spouse or your children, or, just that quality time releases oxytocin in your brain. You're like, man, when can we do that again? Because it released a good hormone in your body and that's what happens when joy is released. We've got endorphins, we've got dopamine and oxytocin, which are all of these really great feel-good hormones that your body should be thriving off of. But I think they're so suppressed because, we choose stress. I mean, life is busy. We make poor choices, and then it brings more stress on our body. And then before you know it, at the end of your day, you're like, man, good day. I'm ready to go to bed. But I think sometimes it takes a concerted effort to find joy at the end of the day. Like sometimes with Edison, I'll be like, hey, what are some 3 great things that happened to you today? And then that actually records, that mindset of always looking for the good rather than focusing on the bad.
Bringing it back in.
Yeah. So, and I know, I think, too, sometimes, especially with social media, people like paint this, like, I'm so happy all the time. And it's just really probably not like that.
Right. And I don't know if you said, there was a little moment that you froze up. I think you caught up, but you were talking about relationships. It's really important for us to surround ourselves with people who do support us.
Yeah.
Because if you surround yourself with people that, are constantly, looking for what might be wrong with you, or sizing themselves up next to you, or, not supporting you in your journey, then you're more likely to probably give up on that journey. So it's really important to surround yourself with people who want you to do well, who want to support you, who want you to be a part of their support system
Yeah.
because they want to live well too.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And it's like we all kind of just work off of each other per se. You know, we all have different gifts and abilities.
Right.
So when we recognize, like, Bridget has this special gift, I don't have that gift, but I know I can call on Bridget because I want her to be able to use her gift well. I don't want to be jealous of it, because then it pits me against you, rather than recognizing what you have and being able to be like, hey, Bridget, I am not great at this task. Would you come alongside me? Yeah. And so just supporting yourself and surrounding yourself with people that are going to be more for you, even to the point where they're willing to speak truth and love to you. Like, hey, that probably wasn't a great decision. Like, I can see you going down the wrong path, or do you really want to continue to live this way? Does it hurt? Yeah. But if it's for your benefit rather than your detriment, those are the people I want in my life.
Right. And those are the people, like, I know you would be that way with me, but and you might say, hey, you're going down the wrong way, but you'll also be there to help me get
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna be like, you do it. I can see you going down a different path, but see you later. So,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The other thing about joy too, I think sometimes is, you know, what's the antagonist of joy is not necessarily sadness. I think the antagonist of joy is actually anxiety, because when we're so stressed, we can't find, or we don't even consider, like, things that are making us joyful. But when we notice things in an area of life that makes us anxious, and all of a sudden it, like, is getting better, then we're like, oh, everything's fine, you know? But if it's like something that's like constantly, I have anxiety about my schedule, or I have anxiety about, you know, going to the gym, or I'm having anxiety about trying something new, or my finances, or, you know, I haven't gotten to the gym enough. That is definitely something that's going to steal our joy. And so how can I manage things better, like that, those other circles, the other components of that circle, so that the anxiety about those areas aren't stealing my joy.
right.
And so I think, you know, in a very fast paced, very overly scheduled, overly fed, undernourished society, I think anxiety and stress is the number one killer of joy. And so, you know, getting grounded back to, you know, what is my true source of joy? And for me, if it is the Lord, then I can trust that all of those other areas are being taken care of by Him. I just have to rely and trust and have faith that I don't need to stress. I don't need to go to bed anxious. I don't need to fill my head with anxious thoughts, because He's totally in control. And so that allows me to live in joy despite my circumstances. So, yeah, I don't know, I went on a little bit of a rant there, but
You didn't, because I was thinking the whole time, like, I've always struggled with that, you know, just letting things go, letting things be, just kind of handing it off. Because I am one of those people, you know, who lets schedules get to me, and feel overwhelmed. And I'm really trying to be that trying to work towards, you know, it will be okay.
yeah,
Just let it go, Bridget. Just chill. It's going to be okay. This week might be a little bit worse than the next, but you know what? Embrace the time that you have. Embrace the abilities that you have.
yes,
You know, what are my opportunities in this particular stressful season, you know, and everybody has the different seasons. So embrace the opportunities you have. Don't focus on the bad parts of it, because
right,
it's essentially all probably going to be perfectly fine, but I just have to realize to let it go, because you could just go down into a deep hole, and
yeah,
it's life's too short for that.
yeah,
It really is.
I totally agree. Yeah. So we can see that, you know, joy combats the things that want to get in the way of producing fruitful life. And when we choose the things that are going to cause chaos and disorder and stress, then we're going to be living a life that is void of joy, essentially. Or we're going to choose things that we think is fulfilling us from a joyful standpoint, but it's only going to last for a short amount of time.
Right.
And so it's important to be intentional with scheduling maybe joy into your life. Like maybe it's calling that person that you know is going to make you laugh, or maybe it's going out with your girlfriends, or just taking time. Like last night, Edison and I, before bed, we love these bad lip reading videos. And so we sat and watched it, and we laughed before bedtime. And laughter releases serotonin, and serotonin helps you sleep better. It combats depression. It combats fear. It's the stressor response. And so when we introduce laughter and joy, then all of those things kind of go away. So who wouldn't want to go to bed happy, you know?
Right.
And so I think being intentional, but at the end of the day, finding joy and doing things that are going to make you laugh is going to give you a more restful sleep too.
Right. And you had something pop in my head, because they, in school, and you just never think about scheduling time in, but, even if you be somebody else, you can also be somebody else's joy.
Yes.
Like send a message to maybe your mom or your friend who you haven't talked to in a few days. Maybe they're missing you and you just don't know it.
Yeah.
Or go beyond that and actually give them a phone call because they want to hear your voice, or just stop over, or send a letter in the mail. Oh my goodness, wouldn't that be a thing?
Oh my gosh.
To get a letter in the mail, or just something simple like, hey, you popped in my head, I love you, type of thing.
Yep.
It makes a difference. It really, and working with the people that I work with in the elderly community who are lonely, it goes a very long way. It really does.
Yeah. So I can see how joy is definitely one of the 12 main components on the circle of life, because without joy, man, life is miserable. It's so miserable. And I'm sure that people, I don't have to say that for it to be a fact. People know, like, if you're not laughing at least once a day, like we need to talk, right? Because that's not how we were not designed to live in a stressed state. We were not designed to live oppressed with sadness, oppressed with anger, oppressed with depression, oppressed with anxiety. We were actually made and designed to live in joy and live in happiness. And so if that's you, like if you're like, I just don't ever feel happy no matter what I do, I invite you to reach out to Bridget or myself, and we can run through the circle of life with you and see where there are some things out of balance, so that we can bring the joy back into your life. So joy is certainly one of those things that we need from a hormonal standpoint, because it helps us to release certain hormones that make us feel satisfied. And it really gives us the strength to move on into the hard things. Like if I can do something hard with joy, wow. I mean, what does that say? Like, I'm not going to give up. Is it hard? Yeah. But if I can do it with joy, it certainly is going to make it a little bit easier to get through, because we know on the other side of it, breakthrough is coming.
Right.
So just having that attitude, not having to paint a happy face on, but just, sometimes you got to dig deep and be like, all right, yeah, this is hard, but I'm going to just my best to find the joy in it. It's like, cleaning the toilet. I don't enjoy cleaning the toilet, but I also know that if I'm like cranky about it, it's going to make it work.
Right.
So
even that's a good one.
Yeah. Even in the simple things, like, I would much rather do other things than clean the gym. But I also find that when I'm cleaning the gym, I have so many like business, like thoughts and things that come to my head for ideas and planning. And so I'm always like, if I feel like I'm stuck from a creative standpoint, I'm like, I'm gonna go vacuum, because I know that.
Gives you time to think.
Yeah, so I now
Great.
have this new joy in vacuuming because I know the results that come from a creative standpoint in my brain.
Right.
So then
Right.
yeah. So just, I don't know. It's like we got to rewire our brains sometimes, rewiring and just having that mindset that, and rewiring takes practice and it takes consistency. So if you struggle with finding joy, maybe where you start out at, which is what we had talked about earlier, is at the end of the day, mindfully write out as many joyful things or as many things that you can recall that happened to you, even if it's like, I went for a walk and I didn't get out of breath. Like, praise God. Yeah, that should bring you joy. And just
Or that we even woke up for them the morning, that we are we have yet another day.
We have another day. Yep.
We do.
Yep. There's another Bible verse I'm gonna leave everybody with, and it's joy comes in the morning. And you know why it comes in the morning? Because that's how we should start our day, is with joy. Imagine if we went to bed remembering all the joyful things that happened, and then we woke up with that same attitude, like joy's in the morning. So just carrying that with us in the morning instead of waking up and being like, oh my gosh, I have 972 things to do today.
Right.
I hope this person isn't at work, or I hope this person doesn't bother me, or I hope I don't get the runs if I eat lettuce again, like that's a really weird one, but
hey, that's life.
but God's word says, joy of the Lord is my strength. It says joy comes in the morning, and it says his mercies are new every morning. So I 100% agree with you, is that starting the day and celebrating, awesome. Joy comes in the morning. So here I am.
I'm doing that tomorrow morning. I'm getting out of bed and I'm going to say joy comes in the morning.
Right.
And then I'm just going to do it every day.
Awesome.
Something different. Yeah.
So we hope you guys enjoyed this little session on joy. Like, did you see what I did there? Enjoyed the joy. Anyway, next week we're going to talk about what's next.
Well, let's just go on with spirituality. I think that would be a good follow-up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Kind of talked a little bit about it today.
Yeah.
So find the joy. It's great for your brain. It's great for your body. Do the things that are going to be lasting and going to make an impressionable mindset, an impressionable mind shift change for you, so that joy becomes a habit rather than stress, anxiety, and fear. So, go on, be well. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.